So yeah, it's a WX satellite coming in, weather satellite, NOAA 19. And I'm tracking it using WXtoImg. It's a hell of a racket, but yeah, we're getting quite a good signal coming in as the satellite passes by. So we're getting the image downloaded in black and white format at the moment. It's dark outside, or just about getting there. Well, not quite, but the sun's going down. And yeah, the image is coming in strong. The ground station of M0YKS. That's the position of the NOAA satellite at the minute. We're locked on it, beaming in that direction. One or two images coming in earlier. The two thumbnails of some of the images that we received earlier today. And some of them being joined together to give a larger image of a couple of passes merged. So yeah, it's all going well. Hope you're having a good time out there enjoying WXtoImg and receiving a couple of weather satellites of your own. So the weather outside is rainy, cloudy, overcast. So 80% of this pass and the image to the right of the upstream, that's the one will be getting cleaned up. The one on the left is the extra data getting picked up. Two channels on this particular satellite. We're just getting a little bit of fade now as we reach the edge of the footprint. So if we're screen across a little bit, you can see the position of the bird, satellite, the weather satellite, NOAA 19. That's the frequency there, 137.100 is the central reception area. Right now it's dropped down below that as it's passed by. I'm at M0YKS and right now we're weather satellite decoding using the computer WXtoImg radio receiver, satellite antenna in my case. Using the antenna on the left hand side, which is that one there, closest now on the right, you see the Yagi, and that's vertically polarized. Get out as we track this satellite. So that's just about finished now. I've put the squelch on and the satellite's just going on the edge of the footprint out of this reception range, and the processing will take place shortly. The picture will get cleaned up, colour will be added and a bit of contrast and the rest of it there. So right now the software's on standby as we wait for the next pass from NOAA 15. It should be coming up in around about 10 minutes, so we'll have a quick look at that. Okay, I've got the countdown reduced here, paused it in between, just got a couple of minutes left on the clock, and this next one will be in range. So the software's just transferred the correct frequencies to my radio, which in this case is 137623. That's where the frequency is in reception point at the minute. However, obviously it's just slightly out of range, so that's the wrong antenna. So there we go. I'm just looking at the footprint. It's just about coming into range, about 1 minute left on the clock. So it's -2 degrees below my horizon. And once it gets up to probably about 4 or 5 degrees, I should start receiving a reasonable signal on my antenna. and then we'll be able to get back to some more decoding and see what the picture comes through like. So because I've got my setup automatically configured to the computer, so it runs it all for me, I just noticed a red light flashing there, which is positioning the antenna into the correct direction, getting ready for this pass coming up. And it's always quite interesting to see what these evening passes turn out like. Obviously a little bit different to your daytime passes, which it's just starting to come through now. So we'll take a look. We're already getting a signal, which is quite interesting, because the satellite is obviously just entering reception. It's only 4 degrees above the horizon, and the distance at the moment is a couple of thousand miles, so doing quite well on reception on VHF 137 MHz using this antenna. So let's take a quick look at the tracking, and hopefully we'll be able to get a half decent signal. Now what I've noticed about these NOAA birds is some of them are at different heights, so you get different kind of zoom levels of imagery. So sometimes you get a really large picture of the UK, and other times it appears to be a lot smaller. Obviously the satellite's a lot further away. So hopefully we'll have a good reception on this one as we decode it on the radio. There's the frequency. Signal's coming up quite nice. And the satellite's coming into range well. So this time the decoding channels seems to be coming through on the left hand side. On the previous satellite it was on the right, so channel A and channel B, and this one's picking up the imagery on channel A. And of course this one's NOAA 15, the other one was NOAA 19. I seem to be getting a nice signal coming in, peaking at around about a 7, so that's quite good considering where the satellite is. It's just between the north of Africa and in the coast of Spain at the moment, so a decent reception and a very nice clean transmission from the satellite to my location at the moment. So I'll just slide it over to the channel which is giving the cleanest image. So we are getting it in black and white. And like I said earlier, it will clean up the image, add some false colour, and also I've got mine set to put in the borders of the different countries. So yeah, I've got a number of antennas up for various operations here in the shack, and obviously I play radio as a hobby, amateur radio, and have a call sign, which you know already is M0YKS, but right now I don't need it because I'm just listening, receiving, and as mentioned in previous videos, you can do all this either with an SDR dongle radio or SDR receiver, or a simple handheld receiving unit, or any radio which will receive 137 MHz on FM. So nothing too fancy is needed. Obviously the antenna is something which you've got to consider getting the right one for the job. And as you can probably make out, the signals coming through beautiful, nice and clean. You can hear the clear ringing tones from NOAA 15. And the signals up there on the screen right now, we're getting a signal 9, full signal, just about. It can go stronger as the satellite gets closer. And that's the position of it at the moment. And now the image is looking particularly good. So interesting bit of imagery coming up. Cloud formation looks quite gathered together. I'm no weather expert, but obviously that could be a bit of landmass that we're seeing there. It'll be a bit more obvious once the image gets cleaned up. So right now we're at a reasonable elevation of 66 degrees on the control unit, and the interface is doing all that, of course. And the azimuth is around about 218 degrees. So the satellite is passing nearby at the moment to my location, as you can see there on the tracking software. Yeah, this one's a good one. Whoops. This one's pretty good, so I'm just going to leave it on. I won't want to pause the filming of this particular reception. As you can see there, that's a pretty faultless image now that the bird's in great direct signal reception range. Nothing in between us, and it's coming through crystal clear. As you can see, the frequency is dropping down now. We've gone past the central point of reception, and the satellite will start to drop past. So the central point for this particular satellite would be 137.620.620, and now we've dropped beyond that, and we're going down to 618. My computer is changing the downlink frequency, and you can actually tell the Doppler audible sound change as it's coming through on the receive. As you can see, that's coming in nice. So very clear top half of the picture. The bottom half were a little bit not quite as good reception. But the volume set, so it's giving me 45% volume into the sound card. So not quite got that sus for the optimum, but it seems okay at that. And as you can see, you can hear the Doppler still changing the pitch, the tone pitch. So the Doppler is the frequency shifting, dropping down as the satellite approaches, just like a train does when it's on the track with the whistle noise, and you can hear that changing frequency. For anyone who's new to satellites, that's how it works. So you can make out the satellite there. I've just repositioned it slightly. So going over Iceland now, heading towards Greenland, and over the Arctic. Still in good range, with a distance of look. So yeah, coming up to 2,000 miles. Elevations drop right down to 15 degrees above, so we're going to start losing the signal now. So I'll take a little pause and have a look at a cleaned up picture. This is what I've got so far, as I'm still just getting the end of the reception. So on a minute later or two, you will see a very nice looking cleaned up image. So it's already begun processing the first pass, which was NOAA 19. As you can see, it was pretty dark, but we will be able to make out everything once it adds the contrast and false colour, and we can have a little mess around and clean it up. So it's just on with it in a minute. So that's the first raw image from the first pass that we got there, which was NOAA 19. So as you can see there, that's looking better already. It's added the border around the United Kingdom, Ireland, Iceland and Greenland, and obviously Europe border with Norway and France and Belgium, all the rest of it, Netherlands there. So looking good, and so far we're happy with the way the decode's cleaning up. Just going to get the colour added now. So yeah, further on in the process, the colour's now being added and a little bit of contrast put in there, so you can see the image is totally different. Quite amazing really compared to what we first started to receive. So as I scroll down the page, you can see where we've got the signal coming in clean from. So we've got probably the bottom end of Spain, Gibraltar area. We started to get a good signal, a good reception, and it got a little bit better as it skimmed past Portugal and across into the Atlantic. Got a really nice clean image over the UK, and then it starts to dull off a little bit once it's past Iceland. So sorry, Greenland. So and then Iceland's a little bit faded. So good stuff on that particular one. So right now we're cleaning up the next one. That was NOAA 19. That was the first of the two passes that we've just received and decoded by the NOAA Weather satellites here at the ground station of M0YKS. So that's actually added a little bit more sharpening and enhancement, and that's cleaned it up a little bit more further. So the details are getting better by the minute. So on the clock you can see the bottom corner, the right hand corner of the decoding software, which is WXtoImg. You can see it's got a countdown and it says recording in 04 minutes. So that's the next satellite which will be coming into range, which will be NOAA 18. So that particular satellite is going to be going across Europe. So we will get some reception from that one, but obviously Europe will be in darkness at the moment. So that'll probably be quite interesting to see how that turns out. Right now we're just continuing to completely clean up these images as they're coming in. We've got the NOAA 19 on the screen right now, and then next will be the NOAA 15 one which took place, and then obviously that will probably happen after I start receiving this NOAA 18 pass, so it'll pause itself and come back to that a bit later on. So that's started to clean the image up. It's just gone back to a black and white image as it's doing it, and any second now we're going to start recording the next satellite which is coming into range, which is NOAA 18. So I'm just interested to watch and see what happens with the decoding, whether it pauses and starts recording or continues. So we'll find that out any second now as the next satellite comes into range. So the countdown's on, there's 0 on the clock, so it'll be coming through any moment. I'll just back the squelch down on my transceiver. Like I said earlier, you can use a receiver or any SDR receiver for this particular exercise. The most important thing is the antenna system. So a lot of people make their own. It doesn't have to be anything too fancy. Just want to have a good view upward. And obviously if you can get it fixed facing upwards, you're going to have a fairly good reception. So we started to record now. It looks like it's still continuing to create the contrast. So that's quite interesting. So I'm going to pause again and we'll see what the next reception comes through like as it gets a little bit nearer. So as you can see, it's quite a lot of fun. I'm just going to clean up this image, add a little bit more contrast, as I make it a little bit better. just by a couple of clicks. And as you can see, it's just changing it slightly. So I'm quite happy with that. So yeah, a nice result on that particular decode. So the other decode's taking place. I've got another pass coming up. One just went by. Since passed a little bit of time since I enforced it, and that'll do. So hopefully you've had a bit of fun watching my decode of NOAA, NOAA 1915, and coming up next will be NOAA 15 again, and then NOAA 18 will follow in about 3/4 of an hour with a 78-degree pass. So that's going to be a good one, but it is dark outside, so see how that turns out. So in the meantime, we'll catch you again. Thanks for checking out the NOAA decoding of weather satellites with M0YKS.